My name is Shira, and I actually sit here in the US, in Arizona, and I work with Bar-Ilan University on our initiatives for those that are coming in from North America to our programs. With us today, we also have Professor Rachel Deckel, who she is the academic head from our international school, and she'll be talking about Bar-Ilan University and what the university is all about. We also have with us today Professor Sean Zelig Esther from our MA in Land of Israel Studies and Archaeology, and he'll be giving you a glimpse of that program. With us today is also Professor Esti Eshel, who'll be talking about our Biblical Studies program, MA, and we'll also be sharing a few video clips of Bar-Ilan University, especially today in this virtual environment. It really helps to see the campus from bringing it as close as we can to you. So we'll be showing you some movies of Bar-Ilan University and also a testimonial from a previous student of ours. So with that said, I'd like to go ahead and move on to our next slide and introduce our next speaker. So Professor Rachel Deckel is here with us today, and she's the academic head of Bar-Ilan University's International School. She's also a professor in the Lewis and Gabby Weisfield School of Social Work at the university and former head of the school. Professor Deckel is a winner of the Israeli Centers of Research Excellence I-Corps Award in the area of mass trauma. She's world-renowned for her research on the effects of traumatic events on family relations and is the director of the Family Trauma Clinic at Bar-Ilan University. Today, she's going to go ahead and present for us a background on the university. Please.
Thank you very much, Shira, and thank you everyone for joining us. We still have the same name, so if people want to press on the participant and change that we will see who is here, we will be happy. I'll give you a short background about Bar-Ilan University, so like a general picture, and then we'll focus gradually on the specific program. So first, Bar-Ilan is ranked among the top 2% of all universities in the world and among the world's top 500 universities according to Shanghai World Ranking. We are a medium-sized university. We already have 18,000 students, even a little bit more. From them, around 900 are international students, and I hope at least some of you will join us next year. We have a lot of accomplishments, and I will talk about it later on, and a very diverse campus which represent the diversity of the Israeli society. So it's Israeli students, Arab students, new immigrants, international students, veteran students, all of them study together in one or several programs. And if you come and when you come, it will be opportunity for you to know and to learn about both the university, learn and study Bible or archaeology, but also about the modern Israeli society. If we move to the next slide, so Bar-Ilan is a comprehensive university, and we do have 8 faculties. As you can see, we do have life science, engineering, and medicine, but also humanities and Jewish studies. We have the biggest Jewish studies faculty in the world, and every department that we have for Jewish studies, like the Bible or archaeology or Jewish history, we have a parallel department in humanities. So you will be able to study on one hand the specific programs that you plan to take, but if you are interested in more courses or more studying in general areas of history, on archaeology, this will be a great opportunity for you as well. Everything is in the campus, in the main campus in Tel Aviv area, except for medicine, which is in the north. If we move, so these are some examples of people that have won some prizes in different areas. The very respectful prizes. One of them is like the Israeli award, which is the highest prize. And again, you can see that these prizes or these people represent a comprehensive campus. Also, Professor Aaron Meir from the Department of Land of Israeli Studies and Archaeology, which is not here with us, but we will talk about his work later on. So these are some examples of the excellency of Bar-Ilan campus. If we move forward, this is like some examples of our impact center. So we think that in order to make a good research, it has to have an impact, not just in the lab or in the library, but a broad impact on the society as in general. We believe that centers could again be interdisciplinary, and each of these centers represent a group of researchers and collaboration between researchers at the university and out of the university, and doing innovation and study, trying to start and find great impact on society. So you see there archaeological botany. I'm sure they will talk again about it, but if I talk about smart cities, we try to see the university as a city and try to find solution and innovative research and solution for garbage, travel, business in the campus itself as an example for finding solution to other municipalities. If we move here, just a glimpse of other undergraduate degrees full that are offered in English. This is all undergraduate. And if we move to the other, here you can see all the studies in masters. So the first are what we are offering, and we'll talk more broadly tonight, everyone according to his time, but you can see that also you have some Jewish philosophy, classical studies, and other areas as well, just to make you the impression that we have more and more full programs in English and more courses in English. So your programs could focus on one area, but could be enriched with other courses and other studies in other areas as well. I think this is it for my part. Yeah.
I think that we have our movie.
Yeah, so thank you. And this is only a first glimpse, and I will not be able to stay the whole evening, but I'm sure others could continue. And I will put my email if you have any question. Good luck with any choice you will make. I hope to see some of you at least next year, October, this coming October. Thank you, Shira.
Thank you, Professor Dekel. It's very helpful. And now we'll go ahead and get a glimpse of what Bar-Ilan is about through our movie clip.
Our world is intriguing and challenging. It arouses a burning desire to understand its laws, study complex processes, discover and develop new worlds. Research is the key to understanding the world around us, to finding new solutions in wide-ranging fields. Our researchers lead some of the most important studies in Israel and around the world, in science, medicine, humanities, and energy. Learning is how we understand things in depth, discovering new worlds, revealing the secrets of the past and the present for the sake of the future. We unravel the secrets of the human brain, of human behavior, the wisdom of Judaism and heritage, creating exciting new worlds in our laboratories and clinics, impact centers and research institutes. And when we do all this with genuine passion, we earn recognition, respect, and international success. We are world leaders in cyber, in information science, and artificial intelligence. Over the years, we've won awards for research and important discoveries. We're among the academic elite in psychology, engineering, education, and the social sciences. With a spacious, award-winning green campus and thousands of students from all over Israel and every segment of society. Bar-Ilan University, grooming future generations of academia, leading excellence and trailblazing innovations. We invite you too to explore, discover, and to lead.
Hopefully you enjoyed that movie and it gave you a little bit of a feel of what Bar-Ilan University is all about. Before I go ahead and continue and introduce Professor Eshel from our Department of Bible Studies, I just wanted to remind us again, Jairo is a very popular person here with us today, but if we could see if there are 3 dots on the right-hand side of the screen, if you could please press that and rename to who you actually are so we're able to see who's with us today. That would be very helpful for us. Thank you. So our next presenter is Professor Esti Eshel. And Professor Eshel is a professor in Bar-Ilan University's Zalman Shamir Bible Department. She also teaches in the Department of Land of Israel Studies and Archaeology. Professor Eshel is involved in 2 main areas of research. The first area focuses on the late books of the Hebrew Bible as part of an interest in Jewish literature of the Second Temple period, including early Jewish exegesis. And the second area focuses on the epigraphy of the First and Second Temple periods. Today, she will introduce to us the Bible department. Professor Eshel, I hand it over to you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to see you, and hopefully next year in Bar-Ilan as well. We have more than 200 students in the department in general, so the department is quite large and interesting. We have, as such, we are the biggest Bible department, both in Israel and in the world. We have 15 faculty members that specialize in various fields. So first of all, you're coming to a very lively, interesting, active department. Next, please. Can you, right? So we have a variety of topics. We have a good team, a great atmosphere. I think that everybody can tell you that the experience here is open, inviting, and very interesting as such. Here are some of the fields that are unique: biblical interpretation, literary analysis of the Bible in ancient Near East, and those are only part of the things we are dealing. There are really a lot of them. We'll see a little later. Next. Now we have also great stuff. Here are some pictures of our colleagues, outstanding faculty that covers the full breadth of the Hebrew Bible studies. I don't think there are many other departments in the world that you can get variety of biblical interpretation, and then that's the scrolls, and then other subjects. The significant contribution to the research of each of the faculty are quite important. Well-known scholars, lecturers in all the international conferences, a lot of books written in various fields. Some of them has come study with the renewed Israeli scholars such as James Kugel, Michael Avi-Oz, and others. So the varieties and the experts are really great. A lot of young scholars, each one brings his own specialities and enthusiasm as a teacher. Next. Thank you. So the real program that we'll get soon, the details, just to cover topics that are being taught in the international program. You have Second Temple literature, inscription from the biblical period. So those two, and the next one, the Dead Sea Scrolls, are my field of research, but we have other scholars who are dealing with it. There's also the biblical story. We have some great experts that deals with the topic, which is, I think, quite important, updated, and all over the world it is known. The Bible in Light of Ancient Near East, we have some great scholars who deals with it, with various subject matters that relates to it, but each one is in different perspective of it. Of course, the biblical Hebrew is quite important. We'll talk about it later. So some of the topics are being taught in other universities, but having it all together is very special, I think. Computer application in the biblical research, the Ark of the Covenant, ethics in the Bible, and ancient Near East. And those are only some of the subjects that are being dealt with. Next. Now, the MA, we have two tracks. One is the thesis track, and the other one is the non-thesis one. And the qualified students, and the question who can be accepted to it on the thesis track, can really continue to PhD later on. So if you graduate and you're done, you can keep on working and studying and have your own advisor. We'll look at it in a minute. And also a non-thesis track, which is 18 credits as follow. You have 6 in the MA, and then 12 in MA courses. So you got the details, but at least you know you can choose your own track which suits you the best. Next. Now here are the details in the track requirement, 12 credits as follow. You can see it part into 4 credits. You can see it yourself. And the important thing is, if you choose to write a thesis, you can find an advisor from our colleagues that teach at the Bible department with whom you feel you would like to work. Student can have an initial conversation with the head of the department for consultation. So if you don't really know whom to choose, you might start studying and then see who is the one that will suit you the best. But if you don't have an idea where to go, you can discuss the head of the department. Everybody is really open and happy to help. It's true with the scholars, the teachers, and the head of the department, and the secretaries as well. It can be submitted in either Hebrew or English, so you should know it's quite open and you could do whatever suits you the best. Next. Now we also have an online course, MOOC. We have one here, the Bible in Light of the Ancient Near East. I assume that in the future we might develop more opportunities here to students to take those kind of MOOC. I think it's a nice combination of in-campus and also MOOC opportunity. Next. Now this is quite important, the Hebrew studies. If you, I think coming to Israel, and most of the classes will be here, you really would like, I mean, students are asked to be in campus, and that's a great opportunity to strengthen your knowledge in Hebrew while you're here. We have great program, I know the option to broaden your studies by being able to study in Hebrew. So after you get some online classes, Ulpan it is called, and you really improve your Hebrew, you can choose taking some classes in Hebrew. I think it's a great opportunity. The professor really collaborates at the beginning. If you need more help or you would like to read something parallel in English, it is possible. So don't be afraid after learning some classes in the international school, even to choose other classes in Hebrew. Next. Now, first of all, before I get to the Hebrew, I would like to say that you are highly encouraged to do what I'm doing. I'm teaching in the Bible department, but also teach in the Land of Israel Studies. Some topics goes here and there. Each department has its own look at those subjects. Like I'm teaching the Dead Sea Scrolls. I can give an introduction in the Bible department dealing with the Bible and Dead Sea Scrolls, focusing on the connection between them. And then when I go to teach the same course in the Land of Israel Studies, I'll add a bit of archaeology, a bit of epigraphical finds that relates to the subject. That's why I highly recommend you to take, if you take the Bible department as your base, to take some courses in the Land of Israel Studies. That will be a great complement to what you are doing. You can have a different perspective, a different study than in the Bible department. So combining a department, taking classes from other departments can be great. Now, we are all a bit worried with the COVID-19 here. We thought it's behind us, but now we know that it's not so simple. But we really decided to come back and go to the campus itself, to invite the student to come and learn in campus and see other students. You know, it's socially very important. But there will be an opportunity here in the MA next year to do a hybrid program, which means 4 frontal lessons at the beginning of each semester. Of course, that's a great way to know each other, to know what are the requirements are, to get to see the campus, to get to see the staff, and then we'll move to Zoom lectures. Being here in Israel, but still it will enable you to maneuver around and learn from your home maybe, and then the final in-person meeting. So things might change during the year, but at least that's our wish, is to allow some flexibility at the beginning and then in campus, and then later on to have some classes in Zoom. We learned during this year that there are some advantages of having Zoom. So, you know, it's additional way of studying rather than missing something. Next. And here are the admissions requirements. You have the BA, the GPA. I'm sure you'll get all those also in a written form, so I don't need to read it all. You have the English proficiency test scores, and second language speakers will be required to take a test. All the exact detail, I'm sure, when you get to the physical registration and everything you have to know, you'll get all the details from there. Next. Now we have some student experience, short movie, right?
One moment, it will take a little bit moment just to upload it. Okay. Okay.
My name is Dominic Hernandez, and I'm a proud alumnus of Bar-Ilan University's PhD program. Bar-Ilan is a unique place, and it was unique for me in my situation for at least 2 reasons. First of all, the faculty there, they were willing to spend time with me. I felt special at Bar-Ilan. The student population at Bar-Ilan was diverse. There were plenty of different types of people there, people like me that had come from abroad and didn't speak Hebrew as a mother tongue. There were people of different religious backgrounds there. I'm happy to be a PhD alumnus from Bar-Ilan. What I'm also elated about at this stage of life is that I was placed as a professor at a seminary in the United States. I'm currently an assistant professor of Bible at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been able to be an asset to the Christian community in the United States in ways that would not have been possible unless I took that step and went to Bar-Ilan University to study the PhD.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Eshel, for giving us some insight regarding the MA in Biblical Studies program. That was very helpful. And hopefully seeing Dominique's short video clip also gives you some personal insight from a student having graduated from the doctoral program in Biblical Studies. So with that, I'd actually like to move on to our next slide and our next presentation. I'd like to introduce Professor Sean Zeligaster from our Department of Land of Israel Studies and Archaeology, who will be speaking with us today specifically regarding that program. Professor Sean Zeligaster is an associate professor in the Martin Sue's Land of Israel Studies and Archaeology Department, also what we call LISA, and teaches the history and geography of the biblical period. He also teaches prophetic literature in the Bible department. Professor Zeligaster has published a book on the historical background of Isaiah 139, as well as many articles. His YouTube lectures are available on the Land of Israel Studies and Archaeology Department's website. Today, Professor Zeligaster will give an overview of the LISA department, as well as a short talk on one of his specialties, which I will leave for him to introduce. Professor Zeligaster, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to point out that both I and Professor Eshel teach in both the Land of Israel Studies program and the Bible department, so that we're both working in both departments, and we're giving students the opportunity to interact with the advantages and strengths of each of the departments. The Land of Israel Studies department was created for people who are interested in interdisciplinary research, in studying the land of Israel from all periods, from prehistory to the modern times, for people who want an experiential program in which they're not only in the classroom, but also studying the land by interacting directly with the land. That means in archaeological excavations, of which our department is currently running 4 different archaeological excavations in which students participate, as well as several survey projects. We run weekly and more extensive field trips in which students explore and see various important historical, geological, and archaeological sites throughout the country. That's an integral part of the program, is that you participate in field trips. And so we're a program that cannot run on the basis of Zoom. At the same time, we also have a very extensive faculty. Some of the faculty members are listed, and there are many more. This is just a random selection of several faculty members. There's a very unique social and open learning environment in the department. Our students appreciate the opportunity that we don't only come to the classroom together, we also work in the labs together. We also work on digs together. We also explore on field trips together. We have a core program of history, which all students need to study the different historical periods, but we also have a wide variety of elective courses in archaeology, in which students can specialize in ancient periods, students can specialize in modern periods, students can specialize in the biblical periods, or in any other period you like. We have courses, you have a wide range of courses, which you can see here, and you can also see pictures our students have taken on our field trips. Here is an example of students on excavations. Excavation doesn't mean just shoveling out wheelbarrowfuls of earth out of squares. It also means working with computers, recording finds, analyzing finds, and so on and so forth. So there's a wide variety of experiences students have, and here you have images from Aaron Mayer's archaeological laboratory, where he has a variety of very valuable and fascinating equipment, which he describes here and which you can see on his video. And I'll now give you an example of how I work and why I work. I work on prophetic literature, and I hope this short presentation of about 5 minutes will be interesting both to those of you who are coming to learn about Bar-Ilan and to those of us who are faculty. It's a short sampling of my research, and it sort of shows the join between the Bible department and the Land of Israel Studies department. What I do is take biblical prophecy, which is of course a literary creation, and place it into its historical context. In other words, I just sort of bridge the Land of Israel Studies program and the Bible department, just as Professor Eshel does in a different way. I'd like to take this evening with you a short passage that relates to Cyrus' declaration and explore how Cyrus' declaration can be seen in a larger historical context. Cyrus' declaration is a very, very important passage with which the book of Ezra opens. It is essentially a declaration of the king of Persia, who declares in 538 BCE the Judahite exiles who are exiled in the Babylonian exile can now return to the land of Israel. This marks the end of the Babylonian exile in a certain way, and the beginning of the return to Zion, the first return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel in 538 BCE. And what I'd like to do now is we have the biblical text. We know the historical context from historical writings of the Greek writers. We also have Cyrus' own writings, which Assyriologists, those scholars who study the ancient languages of Mesopotamia, have explored. Cyrus Cylinder is written in ancient Babylonian or Akkadian, and we'll look at Cyrus Cylinder and how Cyrus Cylinder relates to the historical reality behind the biblical passages. We can also explore this through the demographic realities and look at the archaeology of the Persian period. Where do the Israelites return to? What type of demographic pattern do we have around the land of Israel in the Persian period? And that's also an interesting question, which I'm not going to touch on in the next 4 or 5 minutes.
Professor Sean, just if you can pass the slide.
Yeah. Here,
Thank
are you seeing me?
Yes, but we are seeing only the first slide.
Didn't move.
It didn't move. That's very strange. Sorry about that problem. I'm not sure.
There's something on the top that says "Hafoch haricha lezmina." I think you need to press that button.
Let me try this. Does this show you? Does this work now?
Yes,
Okay, here we
that's
are.
fine. Great.
Okay, so here you have Cyrus' declaration. It's this famous passage with which the book of Ezra opens. And now we're going to look at not at Cyrus' declaration, which we know from the Bible, but at Cyrus' cylinder. This is a picture of Cyrus' cylinder. It's an Akkadian text now in the British Museum, and we're going to various copies in other museums. And we'll look now at the Cyrus cylinder and show how that gives a little bit of historical background to what we find in the Bible. Now, the Cyrus cylinder is dealing with a very important historical question. Cyrus, who lives in 539 BCE, is not a Babylonian. He is a Persian, not even a Persian. He's a member from the kingdom of Anshan, and he comes to Babylon and takes over Babylon. And the Babylonians have to ask, well, why is this person taking over Babylon? Babylon is a very ancient and beautiful and important country. Why is Cyrus taking over Babylon? And Cyrus issues this cylinder that you see here, which we'll read a few lines of in a second, to explain to the Babylonians why he's taking over Babylon. His claim is that the god of Babylon, Marduk, chose him, Cyrus, even though Cyrus is not from Babylon, and wants Cyrus to rule Babylon. Now, at the same time, the same Cyrus is making a declaration that allows the Judahites to return to the land of Israel. So is Cyrus good for the Jews, or is Cyrus bad for the Jews? This is, of course, not a coffee table discussion, but one that Isaiah in chapters 40 to 48 has to engage. Why is Cyrus, who's an idol worshiper, the legitimate harbinger of the redemption of Judah? That's the major question that Isaiah is dealing with. And that question is dealt with against the background of Cyrus making this declaration, which we know from Ezra, and this cylinder, which we know from the Akkadian text you see here. What does Cyrus say in his declaration? And here you have a few lines from that declaration that I translated for you from Akkadian. And it talks about how Marduk, the god of Babylon, the he here is Marduk, the god of Babylon, who searched over the whole world and supported the hand of Cyrus, the king of Anshan, called his call and brings him to Babylon. This is the legitimation that Cyrus is proclaiming. This is what he's saying on the cylinder. I'm legitimate because the god of Babylon called me. Again, the Jews in Babylon are hearing this. They have to think about the question, is this guy Cyrus helpful, or is he an idolater who opposes us? Do we want to support him? When he says all these things about how Marduk supports him, How does that interface with his declaration that Judahites should return to Jerusalem? And here we have three verses from the book of Isaiah, where the book of Isaiah in chapter 41 begins to explore how to deal with Cyrus. In other words, it's prophecy in a historical background. And Isaiah asks about Cyrus the following questions. He asks, who awake me ha'ir mi mizrach tzedek? And I encourage you, of course, to follow in Hebrew. If you can't do that now, you should be able to by the time you finish our MA program. And he asks the people of Babylon and the Jews of Babylon the following questions. Who awakened someone from the east and called victory to his feet? He gave before him nations, and over kings he will rule. He makes his sword like dust, his bow like the flying chaff. And in other words, Isaiah is asking, who awakened someone from the east and made him powerful? And then in verse 3 talks about how this one who's awakened from the east passes over a road that didn't yet come to his feet, a new road. And who accomplished and did this? And Isaiah answers that it's God who does this, who accomplished, announces the generations from the first. Now, if you look carefully at these verses, you'll notice three interesting similarities between Cyrus' cylinder and what Isaiah declares. First of all, both speak about a vast army and arms whose numbers can't be counted. They speak about a peaceful submission of enemies, and they speak about someone coming to a city which they haven't yet entered. And so what Isaiah is doing, he's taking the cylinder of Cyrus. Isaiah knows the cylinder of Cyrus. He knows what Cyrus is saying. And he's saying, all that propaganda that you, Cyrus, are speaking about how you accomplished all these things with the help of Marduk, it's true you accomplished all these things, but it's not Marduk who's choosing you. It's God who's choosing you. In other words, Isaiah is here purposely subverting Cyrus' cylinder and Cyrus' ideology. What I'm trying to show here is that biblical prophecy operates in a historical background. And if you look at the historical background, if you read the historical texts, if you look at the archaeology and look at the history and the texts of history, you can get a much more deep understanding of what's going on in biblical prophecy. So if you're interested in the interactions of Bible and historical context, I encourage you to come and explore our departments, both biblical studies and Land of Israel studies. If you're interested in more modern periods of Land of Israel, you can explore how Cyrus' cylinder resonates with the modern period and how that declaration, how the process of return impacts on Second Temple Judaism. So there's a lot of interesting questions which you can explore here. And I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. Like in Land of Israel Studies, we offer a thesis track and a non-thesis track in LISA. You can continue, those if you are go into the thesis track and earn an appropriate grade, you can continue on to the PhD. We have a variety of faculty who can advise you. Theses can be written in Hebrew or English. Here are some of our requirements. And we encourage, and there's a wide variety of courses and programs, and you can explore how the program can most fit your interests. So I encourage you to think about coming to us and think about working with our programs. Thanks so much. Okay, and our application deadline is July 31st, so please apply soon. Thank you so much. I'm going to hand it back now to Shiva.
Is there any more? We're good. Okay, great. So thank you, Professor Zeligesser, for joining us and also for the fascinating talk and also telling us more about the program itself. Thank you for that. So what I'd like to do now is we'll actually go into a bit of, we're going to summarize basically why Bar-Ilan University's International School, and then we open this up for questions and answers. So I think that you certainly felt today from the professors that were with us as well, is just in terms of the top class faculty that we have. And as Professor Deckel had also described in her initial presentation, just all the awards received and the prizes, and that really is a testament to the world-renowned faculty that we have at Bar-Ilan University, which really provides that academic excellence and the rankings that we spoke before. And what we've done is we've taken programs that we have in Hebrew, and we've been able to transfer that into an English instructed format, such as the programs that you've heard of today. Also, just a few side notes too, is that Bar-Ilan University was actually awarded Israel's most beautiful university campus. It's very green and has a very beautiful vibe. And I think that's also what you see here from our branding. You see the green backgrounds because that really is the type of feeling that you get on campus. It is in an excellent location. We're in the metropolitan area of Tel Aviv. So very easy access. We have very easy access with transportation. It's something about a 20 to 30 minute drive into central Tel Aviv and about 45 minutes to an hour into Jerusalem. And the transportation right outside the campus really lets you get anywhere you need to within the country. We also have beautifully new dormitory complex, which is located right outside the university. It's new as of last year and really a very beautiful complex and renovated entirely, as is the dormitories on campus itself. And overall, really students just feel very much a part of campus and part of a community. And really you feel that intimate vibe on campus with your classmates. You're studying with classmates from all across the globe. And then also you're able to easily access your faculty, which you've met with today, two of which. So with that said, I'd like to go ahead and open it with questions and answers. I did also want to mention that we have Annabella with us, who is our representative for those students that are coming in from Latin America. And we also have our Director of Marketing and Recruitment from our international office, Netta, who's with us on the line too. So please feel free to write in the chat box any questions that might come to mind or anything verbally. We welcome the verbal interaction too, and we're happy to answer that. Any questions that might come up? I know that Yael also provided our contact details in the chat box. So if there are any questions that come up after this session, you should feel more than comfortable in reaching out to us too. We'll be happy to help you further. And what we will be doing is we'll be following up with you as well post this meeting today and providing you with additional links so that if you are interested in applying, as was mentioned here, our deadline date is end of July. And so we will send you those links as well. So with that, I'm going to give another, I'm being asked here in terms of the tuition rates. So we're looking for a master's program today is typically 2 years in length, and it's around 17,500 shekels per year. So I think that's around 5,000, if I'm not mistaken, around 5,500 US dollars. So you're looking at approximately $11,000 for your tuition. When you compare that, by the way, to universities in North America, you'll find that it's significantly less than what you would find with institutions here in the US. Any other questions, Yael, that are coming in?
Yes, we have one more question about if there is any chance of a scholarship. And another question that I know that we mentioned that in the two programs. What about the internet study? I think that he meant virtual studying.
Okay. So in terms of our scholarships, and perhaps Professor Eshel and Professor Zelig-Ester would like to add to that, but you will see scholarships come in when you look towards our doctoral programs more so, what we call the Sandwich Scholarship, also Fulbright, and we can certainly send more information about that. And we do have a page as well in regard to financial assistance opportunities, such as those that are coming in from North America, the FAFSA, for instance, is something that is available to you. In terms of the virtual study environment, Professor Eshel had mentioned how it will be offered in a hybrid format. Professor Zelig-Ester, perhaps you want to add there, and also if you have anything to add in regard to the scholarships question.
Right, so most scholarships are available for students in the doctoral program, as you said. We do expect students to come into the master's program with your own funding, but once you start writing a thesis in the master's program, there are scholarships available for master's thesis students. So in other words, you'd have to come, have funding for your first year coming in, and then if you choose to write thesis, at that point, there would be funding. There are scholarships available. In terms, we emphasize, in the Land of Israel Studies program, we emphasize the face-to-face classes because of the importance of the experience. It's not only the classroom, it's also the field trips and the excavations and the surveys that take place during the school year. So we aren't offering anything next year on an internet-based program. In the Bible department, as Professor Eshel mentioned, there's a plan for the MA programs courses to start with 4 weeks of face-to-face classes and then move to hybrid for much of this, to a internet-based model for much of the semester. So those are your options.
I would like to add, oh, sorry, are you done? I would like to add that even those classes that are in Zoom, people are expected to be here in the country. You can't come and go. Assuming that the COVID will be finished, people are supposed to be here for 3-4 classes before, and at the end in the Zoom doing it while being here. So there's no possibility of taking the whole MA with through the internet. As in regards with the scholarship, especially for PhD, people might look, especially North Americans, through Fulbright and Albright programs. Sometimes you can do some sort of combination, getting some budget from America. But yeah, you need to be here in order to get those scholarships.
Thank you. We do have a question also when the semester starts, which is mid-October is when our fall semester begins. We're being asked here if there's a part-time option for studies in Israel. I mean, we mentioned that the program, maybe you can talk a little bit about what days the program meets, the hours of the program.
The Bible department's MA classes are focused on certain days of the week. I believe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, and Land of Israel Studies, we have our MA classes are mostly focused on Tuesdays. Thursdays are dedicated to field trips. Some students will work 1 or 2 days a week, but I would encourage you, if you're coming to study, to try to devote as much time as possible to your studies to get the most benefit out of it, especially at the beginning.
Thank you. Okay, I appreciate this. Wonderful that we have questions. That's good that we're having an interactive audience here. I'm looking to see if anything.
Yes, that was a question of Jeffrey, but I didn't understand that. Maybe Jeffrey, you would like to ask that directly?
I think Jeffrey was asking about face-to-face classes. I just want to emphasize that that Land of Israel Studies, our whole program is face-to-face classes, and of course field trips and so on. Bible, the program also includes a lot of face-to-face classes.
And about part-time, I think it is a possibility. It needs to be checked out, but if somebody is capable of doing only half program and split it into 2 years, I think it is possible, right, Shira?
That's right. I mean, we typically say the program is 2 years in length, and that's why I was asking the days of the program too. If someone is able, you know, when they say part-time, is it a full day, full-time where you're studying every day, or is it just several days of the program? And so it was answered Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay. David Flug asks in terms of elaborating a bit more on the Land of Israel curriculum.
Okay, so I'll speak a little bit to that point. And of course, Professor Eshel can also speak to that point. Our curriculum is based on 4 periods, even though there's of course more than 4 periods in Land of Israel, in history of the Land of Israel. The biblical period, the Second Temple period, the medieval period, and the modern period. Our students are required as a beginning to take an introductory course in each of those 4 periods. There are further programs, further courses in the areas of specialization. In other words, if you want to specialize in the Second Temple period, for example, you take most of your courses there, you do seminars there, but you'd also do courses in other periods. If you want to specialize in archaeology, you'd have to do a certain number of courses in archaeology, including archaeology of different periods and different methods in archaeology, including various types of scientific methods, how to treat such things as coins found in archaeological excavations, how to treat ceramics found in archaeological excavations. So you have a very, very wide range of courses, and you can choose to specialize in a specific period, recognizing that at least on the introductory level, you have to gain knowledge of a variety of periods. So that's the strength of the program is to know the land of Israel through the different periods from the ancient period of the Bible to the modern day. And you also have the opportunity to gain specialization in a specific period.
Okay, now it's my turn. The curriculum in general is based on in-depth study of the following subjects, more or less: the Masoretic text and its original language or languages, and within its historical context, the genre represented in the biblical literature, their characteristics and style, ancient Near East literature relating to the Bible, traditional commentary of the Bible with emphasis on the inner biblical exegesis in the literature of the Second Temple period area, and the contribution of medieval Jewish commentators. So student, as written at the beginning, you need to take 4 in each field, and the details will be given, I'm sure, but in general, you got some very wide breadth of subjects to combine with, and if somebody is interested in one subject and want to get more information, as I said, you can go to the Land of Israel Studies and add some stuff. And for example, if you're dealing with the Second Temple period, but you're more interested in the Bar Kokhba period, you want to learn some of those documents related to the end of the Second Temple period, you can go and study there, enlarge your knowledge through those studies.
Professor Eshel is is an expert in Second Temple period documents, and we also have Professor Boaz Ziso, who's written a book with Professor Eshel's late husband on the Bar Kokhba letters. So there's certainly an awful lot of expertise specifically on Bar Kokhba in our department, of which Professor Eshel is an important part.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for those responses. Just wait another little bit to see if we have any other questions that are coming in for us. In the meantime, I wanted to thank everybody for sharing their time with us, and also on a Sunday and in the evening hours in Israel as well. So thank you for sharing your time, and also to Professor Eshel and Professor Zeligaster that are here with us today. Much appreciated. In that case, I don't see any other questions coming in. We did provide in the chat earlier the contact information of where you can reach us should you have any other questions, as well as our website. And like I mentioned before, we will be following up with you post this session to see if there are any questions, other questions that you might have, or anything else that we can help you with. So with that, I say goodbye. Anything else that we might want to add? But otherwise, I bid you farewell, and thank you again for being with us here today.
Thank you for being with us, and encourage you to look at our department's websites, both departments' websites, and watch our movies on our websites, and look at the MOOC that Professor Eshel mentioned, and encourage you to look at, there's a lot of material out there about us. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.